Hello and welcome back to the Second Take Podcast. My name is Calvin Williams. I'm here with my co-host Marco Rogers, and today we have a very exciting and happy episode for you today as Michigan gets the win over number 4 ranked Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Definitely good news for almost all of our listeners. I don't know if we have any Alabama listeners at the moment. So definitely a great win for the Michigan Wolverines. But we'll get more to that later. So today we're mainly going to be recapping the New Year's Six games and then making predictions for the number 1 versus 2 matchup in the national championship. So it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, but it's going to be a good one. So let's start off with number 14 Arizona beating number 12 Oklahoma in an absolute shootout. Marco?
This game between Arizona and Oklahoma, very entertaining. Arizona dominated early. They were up 10-0. Then Oklahoma bounced back. They scored like 21 straight, I believe. They went up 21-10. And then Arizona bounced back, and then they started dominating. And then they ended up winning this game by 14. For Jackson Arnold, the highly touted recruit for Oklahoma, he's a freshman. I mean, he had some freshman mistakes, but overall looked pretty promising. And if he can clean that up over the offseason, he'll be a great player. Noah Fafita is, in my opinion, a Heisman candidate next year. He is an absolute baller. McMillan, one of the best receivers in college football. Arizona program on a crazy trajectory right now. Oklahoma, not too much to worry about. Your guy looked promising, and that's fine. The run game did pretty well with Sawchuk. But yeah, pretty entertaining game between two teams, hoping to take a little bit of a jump up next year.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, we have number 9 Missouri, absolutely clamping up number 7 Ohio State in a 14-3 victory. This one just proved why Cody Schrader is the leading rusher in all of college football. 128 yards on 29 carries and a touchdown. Ohio State did not get in the end zone, evidenced by their 3 points, and it was really just a display of terrible offense. I mean, Ohio State went with a couple different QBs, Lincoln Keenholz and Devin Brown, neither of which had much success. So definitely in on the ground, which we've seen Ohio State be able to lean on a little bit more this year than in the past. They did not get anything going either. So definitely a tough loss for the Big Ten, but Ohio State just looked completely null offensively. Marco?
Yeah, well, with Devin Brown's injury early in the game, I believe either early second quarter or late first quarter, it really left the offense with no option besides run the ball. Because that dude legitimately sucks at football. Lincoln Keenholz is like, he's a freshman and he's not that good of a recruit. He's like a mid 4-star. He's the third string, but you'd think Ohio State would have a better third string. Luckily, they got Will Howard in the portal, who, I mean, is definitely better than Lincoln Keenholz, but I'm not sure if he's really that good. But yeah, this year. Missouri pretty much just blitzed every play. Pretty embarrassing from Ohio State, but a lot of offensive players sitting out, so they'll probably be able to clean it up. But yeah, not a very good bowl performance there from Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not being able to lob it up to Marvin Harrison or have Marvin Harrison being open every single play will definitely stifle your offense a little bit, and we see that in this one. Next up, we have number 11 Ole Miss stifling number 10 Penn State. Marco, what did you think about this one? Because me personally, I was surprised. Like, I thought Ole Miss was completely overrated, and they came in here and put up 38 points on Penn State. Dart, Ole Miss quarterback, Jackson Dart, dominated offensively. You'd think that Big Ten defense would perform a lot better, but they were not able to do much, and definitely a higher scoring game than I expected, but Ole Miss was able to get it done. Marco?
Well, yeah, it's definitely hard to play defense without your defensive coordinator, Top Robinson, Kalen King, your cornerback 2, and your edge rusher 2. The cornerback 2 and second edge rusher are both going to be like second or third round picks. Robinson and King probably first round picks. So, I mean, that pretty much takes away Penn State's entire defense. And Matty Diaz is one of the best coordinators in college football. So I knew Top Robinson was out. I kind of had forgotten about Diaz leaving. But I believe he's the head coach at Duke. I believe. But yeah, I kind of forgot about that, so that's why I said this would be a little low scoring. If I do all that, still a very, very, very good offense performance at Ole Miss. Would not predicted them to do this well, but still, that's the reason why. Quinshon Judkins, one of the best running backs in college football, did enter the portal. Lots of teams pursuing him, including Miami, Ohio State, and USC. So very intrigued to see where he'll go. But yeah, Drew Aller continues to look like a pretty average quarterback at best. At Penn State, they better get things figured out over the offseason because the Big Ten's getting a lot better, and they have not really looked like a very good team in the Big Ten the last few years, as they've consistently been third in the Big Ten East.
Yeah, and also I did hear some possibilities of Quinshon Judkins going to Alabama, and then you have Alabama's running back McClellan entering the portal as well. So it'd be really funny if they did a little trade right there. But we'll see what happens. Next up, we have number 6 Georgia absolutely destroying number 5 Florida State, 63-3. And I know it's all the arguments that, oh, we didn't have any of our starters in, and that's fair for sure. Like, Georgia's going to be more deep than Florida State because Georgia has been a better team for longer. They definitely have more depth in terms of second and third strings. Georgia's second strings are going to beat Florida's second strings every time. But 63-3 is embarrassing. Like, I get you got snubbed and you all sat out, but I just don't know how you let that happen. Margo?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Like, you just cannot lose by 60 points and then afterwards say, oh, this is why Alabama shouldn't have gotten in. They just lost to Michigan. Like, Alabama played a phenomenal game against us and was in a situation where they definitely could have won. Meanwhile, you just lost to 60 by the team that they beat when Georgia actually had less players than Florida State. But yeah, this was one of the most embarrassing performances I've seen in a while. Brock Glenn is just not good. Hotier, one of the receivers, he had a pretty good game. That's it. Yeah, very embarrassing for Florida State. They cannot argue anything after this, despite a lot of their team being out. I think Michigan would have beaten them by like 35, even if like Trey Benson played and like all their guys, because I just don't think that they were really that good of a team. And then without like 15 of your players, Georgia didn't have 25. You lose by 60. I think that proves they probably weren't as good as Alabama.
Yeah, I 100% agree there. Next up, we have number 3 Texas losing in an exhilarating game against Washington, 37-31. Both these semifinals came down to the final play. This one, so basically, Texas was down by 2 scores heading into the final minutes. They go down, get a touchdown. They do not get an onside kick, so they have to call a couple timeouts. But so Washington was running their final play with about a minute 10 left. That would have taken the clock all the way down to about 20 seconds. But since one of the Washington players got injured on that play, the clock did not run any further. So Texas had basically a full minute with no timeouts to get all the way down the field. They marched on the field, one amazing catch and in throw by Quinn Ewers, and then third or fourth down, 1 second left, they weren't able to capitalize. But phenomenal game, Margo.
Yeah, well, they went down and got a field originally, but that's the only difference. But still, I really disliked what they did at the end. They're a really good catch to get them down there, but then with like 13 seconds, they ran like a swing, like they didn't really take a shot at the end zone that a receiver could catch until the last play. Like 5 seconds left, third and goal. Like, yeah, they got pressure quick, but Ewers can throw that up into the end zone. Like, you don't throw a swing pass to the running back. Luckily, it was incomplete and they still had a second left. But Washington's defense, they came to play a little more than expected. I figured Texas would be able to do whatever they wanted on the ground. And Texas is a great offense. I'd figure they'd score over 30. I honestly thought they'd score closer to 40, but pretty decent performance from Washington's defense and Michael Penix Jr. In my opinion, he's the best quarterback in college football. Obviously, Jaden Daniels, probably a little bit more of a complete player. But in terms of just throwing the football, Michael Penix Jr. is the best. Dylan Johnson, the one who got injured, he should be back for the Michigan game. Expected to play. Rome Odunze is a beast, and no one can guard him. And the thing with Michael Penix is, like, it looks like it's a 50-50 ball when he throws it up to a guy like Odunze. But with how accurate he is, it's really a 70-30 ball. And then with how good Odunze is, it's really like a 90-10 ball. So you see the ball go up, you're like, okay, our defender has a chance. But in reality, it's just such a good pass, and Odunze is such a good receiver, along with McMillan and Polk, that the defender really doesn't have a chance. And that's the problem with guarding Washington.
Yeah, definitely a super high-powered offense from Washington, continuing to carry them as they head into the national championship. And then finally, number 4, Alabama, losing in a crazy game against Michigan, an OT thriller. Marco, you want to break it down?
Yeah, so if you told me coming into this game, Michigan's going to muff a punt, we're going to miss an extra point, and we're going to miss a 48-yard field goal, I would say we're definitely going to lose. But we just managed to weather the storm. Pretty decent run game throughout for Michigan. First half, it looked like we kind of did whatever we wanted to, and then the second half, we just came out. And I felt like it was more just like player mistakes. The Samaj Morgan drop. JJ threw it a little behind Tyler Morris. He falls over on a third down. Like, it was stuff like that was ending our drives rather than Alabama just locking us up. I thought Sharon Moore did great at scheming receivers open with a lot of crossing routes and stuff like that to sort of ruin their man coverage that they love to run. But Bama, their run game did, for the most part, when they ran it with their running backs, whatever they wanted to, at least in the second half. McClellan and Haynes, both pretty good performances. But yeah, we just managed to weather the storm here. Great catch by Roman Wilson on that last drive. But just hell of a game. But our defense, I mean, the 6 sacks just came in huge. And as we said, we might put in a QB spy. We really didn't spy that much. It was just staying in your rush lanes. And obviously he was going to beat us a couple of times. But, I mean, we're able to limit the amount of times he beats us. And then sometimes he tried to run out of the pocket, but the rush lanes were just all covered. So it ended up in a couple extra sacks. Great defensive performance. And hopefully we keep it up next week.
Yeah, for me, like, during that early fourth quarter time when Alabama got that touchdown, like right near the start of the fourth quarter, and then we got shut down. There was a fumble, we got shut down. They get the field goal, 20-13. I was this game's over. Like, I had basically no hope in us, unfortunately. But we managed to. I mean, that amazing catch by Roman Wilson, off the tips pass, and then just a phenomenal overtime performance from Blake Corum. And the defense, I mean, it was a truly great game and definitely an instant classic in my opinion.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the last play. So a lot of people are blaming Alabama for the play call. I mean, before the play, I was like, it's going to be a Milroe QB run. It's what got them down there. It's what's been working all game. I think it was pretty obvious. It looked a little bit like an RPO, and if he had swung out to the running back, maybe he could have made a play as Colson got there a little late. But what really happened was Josiah Stewart just moved J.C. Latham back 3 yards. And if you look to the left, Milroe probably had a hole that he could have scored a touchdown in, but due to the low snap and Josiah Stewart just knocking back J.C. Latham, I think Milroe panicked a little and just kind of ran at the line, hoped he somehow got in just by being more athletic than the defense. But I think if that's a good snap and the right tackle at least somewhat holds his ground, he cuts that to the left, and that's probably a touchdown. But obviously snapping an issue all day, and luckily their center did just transfer to Ohio State. He'll probably play guard there, but just want to mention that. But yeah, it looked like Milroe just panicked a little on that play, and it would have worked if the snap was better and the tackle held up a little better, as I said.
Yeah, I was definitely going to mention that. I think he easily could have swung it out to that running back if the snap was better, if he didn't have to reach down to the ground to hit it. To grab it. And obviously, like, Milroe's been making plays all game. You want the ball in his hands, so maybe he wouldn't have swung it out. But I just think that's definitely more of a possibility if we see a better snap. But we'll never know, so let's move on. First we have... finally, we have the national championship predictions. Number 1, Michigan versus number 2, Washington. Marco, what's your breakdown?
This game's really going to come down to how well Michigan can stop the deep shot. If we can just make Penix have these 10 pass drives, their run game is pretty good with Johnson, but their extended run game is pretty much screen passes. They run a lot of those. Pretty much make them consistently be able to like throw those screen passes and pick up 10 yards, open field tackles on those screen passes, and then just play them deep. Pretty much play them how we played 2022 and 2021 Ohio State, which is like, okay, yeah, you'll probably get like 8 yards of play on these checkdowns, but we're not going to let you get these 50-yard plays and break the game open. Make them play our style of football, because I don't think Washington can really like play a ground and pound like we're only going to get 9 possessions of this game and we're going to win. I don't think Washington can win like that. They're going to win in a shootout, and I don't know if we can win in a shootout with them, but they have to win playing their style of football. So if we can just make them take these checkdowns offensively, dominate the line of scrimmage like we should be able to do on a pretty average defense. They have a couple good players, pretty good corner, Mohammed. Braylon Trice is a great edge rusher. But outside of that, average defense, make them play Michigan style football, and I think we should be able to get the win here. Not going to make a prediction, honestly, because we don't want to jinx it. But yeah, just make Penix take the checkdowns. They don't love running slants, so if they're gonna throw like streaks and we have 3 guys back there, maybe trying to make a play on the ball. But yeah, definitely gonna be key. Just keeping the ball short, keep the guys in front of you, and open field tackling.
Yeah, everything you said, and I think for me, a huge part of the game is actually going to be at the coin toss, because if we're able to defer to the second half, it allows us to control the ball going into halftime, potentially tying the game up if it does end up being scoring back and forth, and then controlling the ball out of half, slow methodical drives that we're good at, dominating on the ground, demoralizing their defense, taking like an 8-minute drive at the start of the half to go up 7. I think that would be absolutely huge. And obviously the game's not over if we don't win the coin toss, but I think if we're able to defer to the second half, that could make a huge difference. Other than that, our offense completely outmatches their defense. I would say their offense outmatches our defense by a little bit for sure. I mean, we do not have enough corners to guard all 3 of their phenomenal receivers. I think we can guard McMillan and Odunze decent enough, but we're going to have to figure out what to do with the other guy. Because we have Will Johnson and we have Mike Sanders still, and both those guys are phenomenal man coverage corners. So I'm interested to see what our game plan is going to be for locking up them all.
Yeah, Josh Wallace is a guy we've kind of been able to hide all year. Then in the Bama game, they really tried to expose him, but he played a phenomenal game. Like, he was locking up Jermaine Burton, one of the best receivers in college football. Got beat a little on that 3rd and goal, but able to make the tackle. But besides that, they didn't really get any completions on him. He made a few huge open field tackles, had that fumble recovery, but we really haven't seen him completely tested in coverage when the quarterback has time. That's something Penix is going to most likely have with their elite Joe Moore award-winning O-line. And they're mainly Joe Moore award because they're pass blocking, not run blocking. They're a decent run team, but nothing to be super scared of. Dylan Johnson is a good back, but I would try to make them beat us on the ground ideally. But yeah, definitely going to be tough. And this is going to have to be another Josh Wallace game where he really comes to play. But if they're able to expose him, get him on a one-on-one with like a guy like Polk, I really don't love our chances there. So definitely going to have to help. A lot of safety help. Makari Page, Ron Moore, Keon Sad, they all got to be ready to get over there and get deep. Penix, he can throw the ball 60 yards downfield accurately. So definitely going to be a tough task, but Wallace is definitely going to have to step up.
Yeah, and I think Minter's game plan out of all of the coaches is going to be the most important, 100%. Because we realistically only are going to need 2, maybe 3 stops in this whole game, because I think we'll be able to score most of our possessions and control the ball. So if we can get 2 stops on defense, I honestly think that's going to be enough.
Yeah, also, if our offense is able to control the clock, then like 2 stops, then like hold them to a field goal twice, then like even they get like five, like that's saying they get like 5 touchdowns at that point, but then that's like, I guess it's still 41 points. Well, let's say they get like 35 points, they score on 5 drives, like just a few stops can be enough if our offense is able to dominate. So I think that's definitely huge, as you put it.
Yeah, for sure. And do you think we're going to see a similar strategy of pressuring the quarterback that we saw against Milrow? Because obviously Penix is a much better quarterback under pressure than Milrow is. So do you think we're going to continue to put pressure on the quarterback? Because I liked how we were stunting. I liked the exotic blitzes we were throwing at Alabama. So I'm intrigued to see if we continue that style of play or if we more just play coverage.
I think early on we'll probably play coverage. Then, like some point, like the first or second quarter, we'll throw one of those like stunts. We'll probably be stunning most of the game, but we might throw like one exotic blitz at them and see how the O line handles it. Because if they pick it up, it's probably a touchdown. Because I mean, if it's a 1-on-1, the receiver's probably gonna win or a big gain. So I think we throw one at them, see how they handle it. If they struggle like Bama did, just keep on doing it. Because if Penix and those receivers don't have time to get down the field, then we pretty much win the game. So I would probably test them early on, see how they do. But if they do well, probably just stay in coverage most of the game. A few stunts here and there, but for the most part, just make them take the checkdowns.
Yeah, maybe throw a blitz when they're like first and goal or something where they might score anyways, so you might as well get some information for later in the game.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, you got anything else?
Nope.
All right, thank you all for listening to the Second Take podcast. We will see you next week, hopefully feeling good. Peace.